Hi, it's Rick Miller with another episode of
Xing the Gap.
I'm very excited to have three fellow podcasters as my guests today. Karen Johnson-Diamond, Stephanie Wolfe, and Griffin Cork are the voices behind a plethora of podcasts, including The Breakfast Dish, Scam Time, and the one they invited me on, Bridging the Gap Between Generations Who Assume Things About Each Other. Steph and Karen are renowned Albertan actors and improvisers. Steph's a founding member of the Canadian Comedy Award-winning live improvised soap opera Dynasty. Karen's the co-founder of Dirty Laundry, another awesome Albertan improv company. Griffin is Karen's son and a fine actor and producer in his own right. As a quad, we cover the art/chaos of podcasting, assuming things about each other and being wrong, how teenagers will save the world, how Facebook and TikTok split generations, finding meaning in bullshit jobs, how Gen X invented the internet, from yes but to yes and, seeing change as opportunity, and why learning people's pronouns
is like less effort than helping them move. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you love them, do your best.
Let's do our best, shall we?
Xing the Gap.
Karen Johnson-Diamond, Griffin Cork, Stephanie Wolfe, welcome to Xing the Gap.
Yay!
Hi, thank you.
Now, I have to say, this is like the first time I have other podcasters on there. Is there like a secret handshake or password or some sort of ritual we need to do?
No, it's chaos.
Or is it just mutual self-promotion? What is this?
Just pat yourself on the head and then touch your nose with your tongue.
Okay. So as you do that, I would like you also to speak about the podcast. That was our first connection. It's how we met. I was on yours. Now you're on mine. So maybe Karen and Steph, could you start with explaining a little bit of your story and how it fits into the podcasting world? And then we'll move the next generation down to Griffin.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, Karen and I host a couple podcasts, but one of them, our first one was called Bridging the Gap Between Generations Who Assume Things About Each Other. And it was born of Karen and Griffin's idea, I think. So I'll let you do the explans.
You know what? Griffin had no part of it. I'm not throwing any shade, but he had no part of it.
Griffin, stop trying to take so much credit from your mother.
Where it came from.
Listen to me. I just used that teenage phrase. I'm not trying to throw shade. No,
I noted that without expressing myself. Yes.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of teenagers. I think teenagers are going to save the world. And I think that people my age, which is 55, tend to look down on teenagers. The older we get, we tend to, it's that whole kids these days kind of attitude. And I was interested in just highlighting amazing teenagers that are against what everybody thinks they are. I just think that there's young people in the world and many young people in the world that are doing great things. And then it broadened out, Steph. We started talking to more people than teens.
Yeah. And then we started, I think part of it was, it became just sort of a way to have a great conversation with someone who had different life experiences at different points in their lives than us. And then it, went to the land of, what kind of peanut butter do you like? So it's just a really fun way to talk to people who we're trying to, bridge that gap. And I think also as I'm generalizing hugely, but I think also as you get older, you tend to surround yourself with more people who just know your references. And I like to break that wall down,
Right. And Griffin, so how do you fit into this other than being, the progeny and prodigy of Karen?
Karen and I kind of learned about the art of podcasting through our show, The Breakfast Dish, which is
it an art?
I like the idea of a chaos. It's the battle of podcasting, the skirmish of podcasting through The Breakfast Dish, which is a very interview-based style show. It's not like a serial. You can kind of listen to any episode at any time. And it started with an initiative of like, there's a lot of cool digital art going on online or socially distanced that like, I don't know that a lot of like theater subscriber basers or really like ongoing gallery attendees would like necessarily find on their Instagram story. So we kind of just made a platform to both showcase all the kind of work that was going on during the pandemic. And as well, our hope was to create like a library of stuff that if anyone was like, I got to watch something different, I got to take in a new kind of thing, they could like go to our podcast and find it. And it stemmed from as all the Cork podcasts do. It stems from one of Karen's things, which was the breakfast series. Do you want to take that, Karen?
Breakfast series was just 10 years of me going out for breakfast with people that I knew or didn't know. But if I wanted to meet someone or had to have a meeting, we would just go for breakfast, and then I would take a picture of them and then introduce them to the rest of the world on social media, because it surprised me to find out that person was also a fight director and a welder. And I thought other people should know that too.
I just love the speaking to ordinary people, because we're all ordinary and all extraordinary in our own ways. We all have breakfast, we all fart, and we all just say stupid things sometimes. So that's not a good segue to your podcast, but
anyway, go ahead.
Bridging the gap between generations who assume things about each other. What is the most common assumption that is wrong?
For me, I think my most common assumption, and it spans all the generations, is that I assumed other generations wouldn't get me. Or, it's very selfish of me, but I thought I'll get them, but they won't get me. And I think it was quite early on when you sort of cut through the veneer. Exactly what you just said, Rick. We're all more similar than we are different. And it's just the name or the brand name of the jeans we're wearing that is kind of, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, that was mine.
You know what? I guess I assumed that many of our younger guests, because we share what we assume about them and what they assume about us. And I expected that a lot of them would say, oh, well, I assume you really need help with your iPhone and that you don't understand social media. And a couple have said that. And Steffi's always good at saying, honey, we invented social media. We've been on it way longer than you have. We know what we're doing. But a lot of really surprising things where kids have said, I assume that you take really good care of your body, or I assume that you are an excellent caregiver, that people come to you with problems because you have knowledge and life experience. And that blew my mind. I just thought it would be about things we can and can't do instead of who we are.
I met this gang when I was performing Boom YZ in Calgary. And the main story of that show revolves around this car ride where I'm driving my firstborn daughter, Vivian, to university. At some point in the show, I sing a song that I'd written for her as a lullaby. Who you are, who you will be, which way will the wind blow? We'll just have to wait and see. I recorded that song on a CD so that it would comfort Vivian when I was on the road. And I was on the road a lot. I realize now that the geographical gap between us was only one of so many gaps in our relationships and in our society, some of which we spend our lives trying to bridge. Griffin, what is, in your perception, the biggest gap we're facing right now? Is it cultural? Is it political? Is it the obvious polarization that we see everywhere?
I think for me, it would be very easy for me to say like the internet, but in very choice examples, the one that's easy to reference is TikTok. TikTok is such a fascinating. I technically I think I'm like a cusp millennial. Like in a whole bunch of articles I've seen that I'm either far past what they say millennial is, or my birth year 1996 is the millennial line, or it's the other side. So the way that I like to describe it is I see the value of TikTok and I don't really get it, and then I also get mad when economists bring up avocado toast too much. That's where I think my section of people are.
And you think Facebook is for old people?
I personally believe, and I work a little bit in social media management for some companies. I personally believe Facebook is one of the, it is a social media geared towards the older generation for sure. I think it would be very easy for someone of the older generation to kind of dismiss TikTok as just like another YouTube, but you go through some of their videos and it's like, hours of like musicians making compilations or cooking recipes or like that's how a lot of musicians or comedians right now are like getting their start. There's not this thing in Canada, but there's this thing in the US called the TikTok Creator Fund, which is if you get enough views, like they'll start paying you. It doesn't work like that in Canada, but you can still leverage your popularity for ads or whatnot, like stuff like that. So I think the largest gap kind of circling all around that is the different kinds of careers that people can make for themselves, what kind of work you do and whether or not that has like value or merit. And I think something that's really exciting about millennials and Gen Z is that with the current advancements of technologies and stuff like, you know, you could say whatever you want about like Bitcoin or NFTs or video game review blogs on YouTube, but they're all making capital and people are finding it valuable. So I don't think it's so easy for someone to go, no, that's not a real job.
Valuable and meaningful too. I know a lot of millennials and Gen Z talk about wanting their work to have some sort of meaning too. And that's why they're just not interested in just taking up any job or filling in the current labor market. You know, apparently there's so many jobs and young people aren't taking them because those are bullshit jobs, a lot of them. Yeah. And you want your work to have meaning. You want your life to have meaning. And I think that comes from being brought up by baby boomers and, you know, early Gen X who taught differently from following the track of your life, who thought that your life should have a narrative and a story to it.
Yeah, I just want to, since I can kind of speak for my son to that, since he's not here. He's 19 and he's in university and he's going through exactly what you just said, Rick, and what you expressed about Griffin is that he's having trouble with this idea that he has to take classes to be a thing. You know, he gets that an education is important and that it's mind opening and that it exposes you to new ideas. He gets all that, but he's like, why are we making this having to be a result and a thing? And I'm like, you go, it doesn't have to be, buddy. Like, I think that one thing that being 56 has showed me is things change in the evolution of things. And, just even hearkening back to social media, as you get older, I think, again, I'm going to generalize, but you find you're more resistant to have to learn another new thing. You know, it's just because it happens really fast now and you get good at something. It's like, don't update my computer. I just figured out how to do this, where that thing is. And now it's not there anymore. You know, it's like, I don't move my washer and dryer around every 6 months. It's always where I put it. And so I know how to get there. But also, you know, in defense of this place I'm in my life, we had to learn it from scratch. We weren't brought up with it. It came to us in the middle of our lives. And so I think we deserve a pat on the back for that because we use it. We had to adopt it. It kind of came along and we just had to get on board. And I find it fascinating. And again, TikTok at first was like, what is this? And I love getting on there and watching amazing 90-year-olds play the blues that we've never heard of, right? Like all these things are windows on the world. It's just difficult when the content keeps coming at you so fast. It's hard to filter as quickly as it comes at you, I find.
And when it all comes at you so fast, what do? You improvise. Towards the end of Boom YZ, I'm still in the car with Vivian, and she begins to rant about the state of the world and anxieties around climate change in particular. I interject with something like, I hear you, Viv, but despair doesn't help either. And she lashes back that I don't actually hear her. I just try to yes, but her all the time. That really hit me. Yes, but it implies that I know more than she does, and I'm just waiting for her to finish so that I can dispense my wisdom, which is, to me now, exactly the opposite of wisdom. Wisdom is listening, learning, and quietly accepting how little we actually know. Not yes, but yes, and. And yes, and is the philosophy behind improvisation, which is what my guests are experts at. Has that yes and philosophy sort of propelled you your whole life? Like, has it shaped how you see the world?
I'm sure I yes butted Griffin a lot, but it's
called parenting.
Yeah, it's true. But I hope that I've brought that idea in from improv, and what I think will save the world is that the lesson of taking care of your partner. What does your partner need? Don't worry about what you need. What does your partner need? So if they have an idea, say yes to it and try it and see what happens. So I hope I've become the kind of person that when I'm encountering people right now during stay away from each other times, that have a very different opinion than me, that I ask questions more than I debate. I loved what you said, Steffi, about TikTok just being a window on the world, because who knew? And if I just shut up and listen, which it took a long time to learn in improv, to just shut up and see what the other person would like to do. I learn a lot. In improv, there's 900 billion things that could happen in the scene you walk into. You're going to start with a doctor and a washing machine, and it could be anything. So that's what I really found when Griffin and I started podcasting, and Steph and I too, was what else can we do? What else do we have the skill set to do? And we're not afraid to try. We're just going to yes and this idea.
Griffin, were you yes butted or yes anded? What's your feeling?
I was actually really digging through my brain to see if I had like repressed anything too traumatic. I don't think. I mean, as a kid, I think I don't know if I could tell the difference between yes but and yes and, but I can tell the difference between yes but and no.
Right.
I think young Griffin needed some yes buts for sure.
I still need yes buts.
Totally. And
or a kick in our yes buts.
For sure. And I think yes but and yes and are good ways to go about life. A lot of the new careers that I've tried out or new positions that I've held is kind of like, can you do this? And I go, yeah. And then I spend 2 months before that job starts figuring out how to do that job. So, you know, like I love the into the flames of a yes and a yes but.
What a great way to put it.
But.
Yeah. I guess it's just not using any of them too often, you know. Sure. I guess it's, yeah.
Karen?
I brought to my parenting to Griffin something that my mother-in-law instilled in me, rest her soul, Joan Cork. When Griffin was born, I'd come over and she'd go, well, where doesn't he get pablum or, some cereals? And I'd say, actually, what they're saying right now is that breastfeeding is fine for the first 4 months. You don't need solid foods. And she'd pause and she'd take a deep breath and she'd go, oh, really? And I just tried to take oh, really with me into everything. So I hope there's times in Griffin's life that he's come home and said, Mom, we're doing this now. And I hope that I've gone, oh, really? And I think that going back to what you asked, Griffin, that biggest gap right now might be that here's another word that I'm not going to use it. The gap between, let's say, pronouns and gender identity, the recognition of that in Griffin's generation, as opposed to my generation, as opposed to my mom's 80-year-old generation. And I feel like in the arts, it's easily embraced. I don't know what it's like outside of the arts, but that's one of the things where I feel like I've learned a lot from Griffin. And he will yes but me on that, or he will know me on that, and he'll correct pronouns for me, and I appreciate it. That was a little off topic, but
no, I think it's really relevant. It's one of the things that our generation has been introduced to and has learned. But again, I agree with you in that maybe it's because we're in sort of more of an eclectic kind of occupation. It wasn't a big deal to go, oh, okay.
I would say in most of these conversations, I talk with boomers more than I do any other generation. So that's kind of where I base it off of. But like they feel uncomfortable to say the word queer or black. You know what I mean? Like that discomfort is kind of odd to me because those are issues that my generation and lower talks about all the time. So I think, and there's always been discomfort when you're in a social situation and you forget somebody's name.
That's what darling comes
in. Hey, but champ, sport, right? So it's the same kind of thing. Like working to refer to someone to their preferred pronouns or their changed pronouns, I would argue is like less effort than helping them move. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you love them, do your best.
But I think a generational thing may be that in past generations, this is how it's done. And the idea of change wasn't right in front of you all the time. It came at you like a big surprise because a generation just decided now we're in the streets. And the other one was like, what? When did no one tell me? And I think a lot of that has to do with now we have social media. Before Gen X, we didn't have that immediate call to action it came at 6:00 every night, and it depended on who was sponsoring the news, kind of thing. And now this opportunity for, to spin it positively, this opportunity for change is there all the time, and it can get exhausting for sure. But I think it's kind of cool that we get that opportunity.
Opportunity. In Boom YZ, the audience has to vote on 3 possible endings to the show: reimagine the road, carry on the road, or blow up the road. Most baby boomers vote for reimagine the road. Most young people vote for blow up the road. But my favorite ending is carry on the road, building on what we've learned, failing better. It's the one where Vivian, my Gen Z daughter, takes over the wheel of the car and I fade into the rearview mirror. I wonder if this is a typically Gen X view of Xing the gap between extremes and embracing imperfection, messiness, tension, and discomfort. Griffin, what is your view of how tolerant we are towards tension and discomfort around topics that are difficult?
I think it's very easy. And this isn't saying that this is what we're getting at, but one of the largest criticisms I hear of Gen Z and millennials is that very snowflake, very looking for a safe space, kind of overly political correct is one of the largest criticisms we get from, I would say, mostly boomers at the moment. And I never really understood that. I think the base criticism for that is you have it too easy. You're asking for too much. Like when I was older, I had it harder. And my whole philosophy around that is kind of isn't that the point? Isn't the point to make a better world for your kids and your grandkids? If you experienced hardships and then wish those hardships on the younger generation, is that really what we're going for? Is that the trajectory we're on? And there's
such a good point.
Well, there's absolutely an argument for the other side, right? If you're too coddled and you haven't been experienced, if you haven't been exposed to hardships in your life, then you can make an argument for how that affects your character and your resilience in terms of rejection. But I think the big thing is that one generation defines as hardships and what another generation defines as hardships are very, very different. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, my generation and the generations below me don't have to deal with a world war. That would be ideal. So to compare those two hardships and the two generations, I don't think is fair to either generation at all. It's all proportional. It's about world experience. It's about kind of assess that as what we've grown up into.
I'm going to ask one more question, which is maybe unfair, but I want you to think of a message that you would say to your younger self, to your, let's say, 13-year-old self at your age. Is that your message?
Trauma. No.
Okay, so let me place this. 13.
That poor girl.
So Steph, you were, these are the late 1970s, early 80s. You were listening to Depeche Mode. No, let me see. What kind of trauma were you going through? And what would you say to this, sort of emo early 1980s girl?
I'm gonna ask that someone else answer that because I have to sort through some stuff right now. I'm just going to call my therapist.
Griffin, you have less of a distance between you and that self. But if you could pass on some words of wisdom to younger Griffin, what would it be?
I would say your friend should be based on quality and not quantity. I remember when I was in junior high school, one of my favorite things to do was just walk around the school during lunch and just say hi to people to remind myself that a lot of people knew who I was and I could interact with a lot of people. It was a weird kind of messed up dopamine rush. And as you, of course, graduate from university, high school, junior high school, and things start to fade and you start moving into an adult life, you realize that the 5 of your really, really close friends are the ones that you're going to do stuff with in your adult life, and your kids are going to have play dates, that kind of stuff.
Quality over quantity. So my 4 TikTok followers, the fact that 2 of them are family members and very high quality people, I should be very proud of that.
I agree, especially if they're liking all, they're commenting, they're liking. Hell yeah.
I gave up on that one, by the way. But anyway, Karen.
That's okay. I should say I don't understand TikTok either. I looked up the most used hashtags on Google for TikTok. Of like, here's how I get popular.
Karen.
I would say it's all about worrying. I would say you're going to be a worrier, and you will counteract that by looking for what's right before you look for what's wrong. But also, even before that, probably I would say something that my counselor said to me, which was, worrying doesn't prevent a bad thing from happening. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're just wasting your psychic energy on the worrying. Worry about it. Even
bring it on, right?
Yeah. Just worry about it if it happens. So that's something I've really tried to focus on, is just when I'm, I've built up every single worry, if this, then that, then this and that, and this and that. Sometimes I just try to listen to my head and go, worrying is not going to prevent the thing that you're worrying about. So
and it's exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah. It's exhausting. I'm tired. I'm so 55 years of worrying.
So Steph, you've had 3 minutes to reconsider.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I think 13 is such a, I don't know why it's a trigger. It was just that moment in life of going, of pulling away from your parents, but needing them so much, that difficult break in the road there. I had a hard time with that. And I think what I would say to that young woman is, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. I needed a velvet touch, not because of being too sensitive, but because I felt like I was going to break all the time. Yeah.
Well, in some sense, we are fragile, but I think recognizing the fragility and saying it's okay to be vulnerable and fragile. I don't know. I'm realizing more and more that my 13-year-old self thought I was awesome and thought the world was awesome and everything is awesome. And I'm part of it. And I'm making everything better by being me. And that arrogance, I think, is what I would just try to temper. I said, don't lose your confidence. Don't lose your joy. Don't lose your enthusiasm. But open up humility more than hubris, I guess, is what I would tell my little...
Wonderful.
And my 13-year-old self would go, what's hubris? But that's okay. So, folks, we're going to pull this all together into a game show. I'm just going to ask you stupid questions, and you're going to answer, and you're going to fail, and it's all going to be fun.
I'm in.
I love a chance to compete against my son.
Oh, God.
Starting with you, Griffin, I'm going to ask you sort of Gen Z-y questions, and we'll see how you do. Ready?
Cool.
Name 3 pilot nicknames from the movie Top Gun.
Iceman. Oh, no.
That was not one.
What?
Oh, no was not one.
Oh.
Because that would be really bad if you've got a pilot written and it's, oh, no.
Oh, no.
What about Tom Cruise? Come on.
Sorry. Maverick? Iceman. Oh, no.
Who died?
Ace?
Oh, close. Goose.
I don't know. I'm
going to give you a point anyway.
I've never seen Top Gun.
Wow. Okay. Here, I'll throw one to you, Karen, then. Famous Kevin Costner movie. There was a line in it saying, if you build it, he will come.
Field of Dreams.
Good. You got that. Bonus point.
I love that book. I love that movie.
What is it and who is he? If you build it, he will come.
If you tear down your cornfield and make a baseball diamond, then the ghost of your late father will come and you will be able to have some sort of closure there.
Was it his late father? Wasn't it Shoeless Joe Jackson? Or was his late?
Shoeless Joe.
Oh, so that's right. You're right. It's Shoeless Joe, which is the name of the book by Kinsella. Yes, thank you. But his dad does show up. He plays catch with his dad and he gets a little closure. But you're right. It's about getting Shoeless Joe Jackson. Well, see, I watched that movie and I go, I don't know. Was it about Shoeless or was it about his dad? I don't know.
In Guardians of the Galaxy, they play catch with his dad too. The second one, that's my favorite.
Talk about a cliche. The slow-mo catch with dad,
Yeah.
Wow.
I will also say that my vice in pretty much any media is dads trying to express love to their kids, especially like the shut off, not sensitive. I'm proud of you, kid. I think you did a great job. I weep every time. Like shut off, non-vulnerable dads trying to God tell someone they love them. I love
the dad is
love.
hugging and it's genuine. Yeah. Let's cry.
Yeah.
Really?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, here's another question for you, Griffin. I'm going to whistle a couple of TV themes, okay? I want you to name. This is way
I'm
back.
going to be bad at this one. Here we go.
Griffin, any idea? Okay, Steph?
I don't know the names of anything, but I can see the black and white, and I can see all the letters and everything.
That's not good enough. That's not good enough.
I will
Karen.
never give you a name of anything. I'll guarantee you that.
Karen?
Is it Andy Griffith's show?
It is. That's right.
Oh.
I'm going to skip to another one. Here's a classic. Simpsons. Okay. What show had two cops on motorcycles, Ponch and John?
Go, Steph.
I do know this one. Chips.
Okay, Steph got it. Yep. Okay.
I got an actual title. Amazing.
Griffin, what TV game show had a grid of 9 squares with people sitting in them?
I was going to say Celebrity Boss.
There's a hint in his question.
Oh, Hollywood Square.
Ding, ding, ding. Well done.
Hollywood Square.
Okay, and Steph, who was so excited about it, who was the most centered celebrity? Which celebrity was at the center most often? Do you know this? This is a deep dive.
I think so. Let's see if I can do this. I don't know. Paul Lind.
Paul Lind, you got it. Wow, that is very good. Politics, okay. Name the British Prime Minister during World War II. Griffin.
World War II. Oh, no. Was that Winston Churchill?
Yeah. Good guess.
Thank God.
There you go.
Okay,
that was my guess too. Good job, boy.
I worked in a video store in the late 1980s, and the store was divided into 2 sections for 2 different kinds of videotapes. What are those 2 kinds?
VHS.
That's one of them.
And A-track. VHS and Betamax?
Betamax. That's the word.
Okay.
Another famous TV show had Bo and Luke Duke as they were driving a car called the General Lee. And Stephanie's nodding her head, even though she doesn't know any names. Steph?
I'm actually really happy with myself because I never get names, and I'm getting names. What's happening to my brain? Do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Is it Dukes of Hazzard?
Ding. Got it.
Oh.
Now we're going to throw it a little more to the Gen Xers here. Let's see. Name a YouTube influencer. Karen or Steph, raise your hand if you've got one.
They should.
We both have one. Should we say it at the same time?
1, 2, 3.
Miranda sings.
Yes. Kylie Jenner and Travis Scott had a baby named... It's a weather...
4-wheel drive.
4-wheel drive is incorrect. Stormy. Yes, I'll give you that. Stormy.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like you to name a boy band from the last 10 years. Band for that matter.
Didn't In Excess come back in the last 10 years? Didn't they re-up?
They're not a boy band.
No.
Wait, what's the one
they had
that
a tragic ending to their lead singer?
NSYNC?
NSYNC. Didn't they come back in the last 10 years?
NSYNC, but there's that's like an OK Boomer mashup.
I have listened to nothing but Neil Diamond since I was 13 years old, so I can't answer these questions.
I'm going to throw one more to Griffin here. What's a talkie when we're referring to cultural products? What is a talkie?
Don't say us.
Yeah. A talkie. No problem. I'll tell you what it is right now.
You're just stalling.
It's a talk show.
Good answer.
It's a walk.
Karen,
It's the latter half of walking.
Okay.
It's a movie with people speaking in it, as
Not
opposed
a silent
to
movie.
Oh.
That's right. You know, you have learned so much on this podcast. All of us collectively, I think, have grown. We've changed. I think we've evolved a great deal. Let's keep connecting like this. Maybe we'll do an annual where I'll come on yours, you come on mine. We talk about what we've learned, how we failed.
I love that.
Yeah, we'll find things that we learned that we actively seeked out, sought out.
Things that we actively sucked at.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. So long.
See you later.
And see you later, my friends. Before we go, some thanks are owed to my trio of guests, Karen Johnson Diamond, Stephanie Wolfe, and Griffin Cork. Check out their podcasts, including Bridging the Gap Between Generations Who Assume Things About Each Other. My name's Rick Miller, and I wrote, recorded, and edited this episode. with multimedia by my team at Kidoons. For more info about the Boom Trilogy and our many other projects, visit kidoons.com or boomtheshow.com. Thanks also to my partners on this podcast, Leap, an online community where life experience meets innovation, created by CABI, the Center for Aging and Brain Health Innovation. For more info or to become a Leap member, visit cabi.com/leap. And thank you, my listeners, for helping Xing the Gap find and grow its audience. If you're on a podcast player, please follow us, write a review, and tell someone about this or other episodes you liked. You can also send any questions, comments, feedback to me at Rick Miller Actor on Twitter or Instagram, or rick@rickmiller.ca by email. And hey, in a polarized world, you have a choice. Build a wall or build a bridge. Build bridges, not walls.
Xing the Gap.